Because one of the things that we are learning also in the dream school and the practices that we're doing as dreamers is to navigate the entrance and the exit of different dimensions. So when you fall asleep and when you wake up. So if you do that consciously, then you
Wow.
never really fall asleep. You just move in between dimensions. And that I think is one of the ways in which we can really step into and feel that we are multidimensional beings.
Welcome, Celastrina. I'm so happy to have you here and joining us from beautiful Damanhur, the eco village based in the Italian Alps, quite well known by some. I wasn't so aware of it and feel like I'm a little more now after having a little explore online about it. It's a well-established spiritual community that's been your home now for some years, and where you're, apart from being a mother, a practitioner in the art of lucid dreaming and storytelling. But you were born in Sweden.
Yes, I was born and
Yes.
raised on an island outside of Stockholm in the archipelago. So that's where I was, where I grew up, and around the age of 18, practically when I finished school, I felt that I needed a break from Sweden and I started traveling. I moved to Berlin for a moment of time where I started to have
Oh,
a very strong spiritual awakening. And after that kind of awakening of a complete life crisis, because everything that I felt that I thought about life was completely shattered after that awakening. And so that led me to travel even more and to seek out wisdom traditions, to seek out people and spiritual traditions all over the world to find some kind of truth. And going back to 10 years ago when I came to Damanhur for the first time, I decided and I realized at a certain point that, okay, I want to change the world. I want to improve the world. I want to help it evolve in consciousness, but it's very difficult to do it as one person only. And it's not very fun either. And that's why I started to seek out spiritual communities. And I came to Damanhur, which, of course, being a very special community, I think, in the world. I've
mm.
never seen anything like it in any of my travels. And I really felt at home also with the people here. So that's why I decided to stay, and I've been here and created my life here now for the last 10 years.
I'm going to just tell everyone to go on online and go into your beautiful little films that you make about it because you give so much information. Damanhur is magical. That's the word that comes to mind when I saw it. It's not tiny. There's quite a few people living there now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it and about that. Wonderful. Look, I'm just going to say, so there's this incredible mountain with these beautiful a labyrinth of halls, I guess you would call it, within it. Each representing, well, no, you tell the story. You tell the story. It's widely called beautifully, beautifully decorated,
So you're speaking
Yeah.
about the temples of humankind,
Yes.
and they are made. There are nine halls in the temples. The deepest one is 60 feet below the earth, the ground. And so the idea of the creation of the temples was really to create a temple that was really connected with the earth, like inside of the earth. So connected also with the sensation that the message of this temple, and which is why it's called the Temple of Humankind, is because it goes through the evolution of the human soul through each hall, and what we go through both when we come into matter but also as souls. And so it's a beautiful journey. Each hall is a journey in itself, and it's also, let's say, a celebration to the diversity of humanity. So the idea is that it's connected, it's built underground to connect with the energies of the earth and to celebrate the diversity of this planet and of humanity in time, both from the past and to the future, to really have this, let's say, seed of awakening on the planet. So the temples was really made with this idea, and let's say the temples are really the heart of the philosophy also of Damanhur. Then around this, there is the community, of course, the values of the community. The community now this year celebrated 50 years, so it's
Wow.
a quite old community. And in the valley here where we are, there are around 600 people living. And then, but it's a worldwide movement now, Damanhur, because it has missions that goes beyond also, let's say, this location. So missions are really helping to reawaken the world. So that means traveling around the world and connecting with animals, indigenous peoples, and many, many different magical operations that you can also find on the website when you go to Damanhur. And yeah, it's like for me, being a person who very easily gets annoyed, I'm a very adventurous person. It's a perfect match to find roots in something that is always changing and that is always transforming. So this is also why I also fell in love with it, except from the fact, of course, when you enter into the temples of humankind the first time, you are really mind blown because it's
Yeah.
completely made by hand. So not only by the philosophy, but also by the details, and that every details have a meaning, and the idea that spirituality is nothing else than giving meaning to everything. And so yeah, it's you cannot really put words on it before you visit.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's great, and it's not just working locally; it's working globally as well. So clearly the model extends out. It really is about unity consciousness because it can work anywhere else too. So
Yeah.
that's testimony to it is working. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that is very important. And also one of the important thing, we have like a little scale of what, according to our experience, is important to have within a community for a community to start.
Mm.
And then one very important ingredient is that you need to adapt your community to the local environment where you are and to the local culture where you are. So it's also sometimes, of course, Damanhur is an international community, but sometimes it's like, why don't you have more? It's very Western. It's very, and of course it is because it's situated in a Western country, even though we
Mm.
have sister communities and connections with a lot of indigenous peoples, but they are not very, let's say, attracted to moving to, or to moving and being part in that sense of a
Sure.
Western intentional community. And that is okay. The most important thing is that there is a respect of that kind of diversity and an openness to learn from each other, and that hopefully the world will be part of many new, let's say, communities, tribes, and that will rise as hopefully nations get more local, like more localized. Yeah.
It's fascinating and it's working. And obviously you're raising a family there.
Yeah.
I mean, on a day-to-day level, on a week-to-week level, even that's probably a little bit fairer to, how much you live in a separate house with your family, is that right? But not everyone does that.
Yeah,
There's all sorts of different models there,
yeah.
ways of doing. But you come together weekly as a community, all 600 of you, or just
we have
just a
we have
few?
different meetings. So what is important to know that you have the opportunity every day to meet many people if you want. But in one of my videos, I also speak about the importance of time management and
Mm,
understanding your needs. So for example, in my house and my family, we are living all together in a village, which means that each family unit has their own little house. And then in the middle, we have the common house in which we cook together, we eat together, we have meetings together. While in other places in Damanhur, many people are living within the same house, and you have your own personal spaces in rooms and so on. So it's a little bit different. We were living like that before also. So this is like a new version of community that we are trying
mm,
out.
mm,
Um, but on a weekly level, let's say we, all of us who are living here, we meet with our, let's say, spiritual path, where we are doing spiritual work once a week, and that are sometimes in smaller groups, in study groups, or sometimes it's with everyone, even worldwide. So even Zoom connections, then it's 1,000 people. And then we have our social gatherings within the community, which is on Thursday evenings. We have study evenings, which are on Wednesday evenings. And on Tuesday evenings, we are having the family meeting within our smaller context, like, for example, my village.
mm.
And then there are constant other kinds of events and so on. So you have really opportunity to be quite fully immersed. So then you choose depending on where you are in life, depending on your work situation, depending on, there's some things that you should participate in. Let's say that your everyday life within your little family context. So, for example, in my village, or people who are living in the house, this is people that you meet every day and that you interact with every day. And this is where you really live community on an everyday basis. But otherwise, you meet people on project basis also a lot.
It's amazing. And actually, it just sounds like a beautiful village in Italy to me. So,
Yes.
traditional in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
how people lived way back when. But
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the spiritual gatherings. Are they most, I've based on what or just actually the imagery and the iconography that's used, particularly in the temples, that it's very earth-based spirituality. Am I right there? Is that the case?
Yes, it's earth-based and stellar-based. So the idea.
Okay, cosmos too. Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, great.
So the idea is that we need to be part, we are already part of the rhythms of nature. So we need to be consciously part of them. This is why we are all celebrating the equinoxes and the solstices, which are really like the heartbeat of this planet, but also the other, let's say, cycles of this planet, like the moon phases and all this, when especially when we speak about the sun, moon, and the earth, there is such a symbiosis with each other, and the energies that are moved uh, by these three, let's say, components are so important for everything. So it's better to be
Absolutely.
conscious about them, and to, as in native peoples, really take advantage of, in a spiritual sense, of these things and honor these things. Also, when it comes to the different elements of life, understanding that life is based on these elements, so earth, water, wind. So in that sense, it's very earthy, with the idea that we are really part of a cosmology and of a cosmos that is infinitely vast, and that is also interacting with us constantly. So there's really this, for us, the earth-based, let's say, is also a part of the cosmos, as in many indigenous peoples.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
not just looking down, but looking down, it also means looking up. So this is the idea. It's very,
Beautiful.
very esoteric in that sense. Yeah.
I was just thinking tonight, it's kind of an interesting time that you and I are speaking because we've got a huge eclipse
Eclipse.
about to happen. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's very, and all sorts of earth, Mother Earth is moving quite a lot. The poor people in
Yeah.
Myanmar right now who had a big earthquake, and there's just a lot going on with solar flares, and there's a lot going on in the world that I feel is apart from all the conflict that is really shifting people.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable for some,
Yeah.
very exciting and on another level, but there's a lot going on. And that would lead me a little bit to your practice and what it offers people.
So the School for Awakened Dreamers, it's a school that I created together with three other dreamers here in Damanhur, and we realized at a certain point, well, let's say that our master dreamer, she has been practicing also with the founder and guide of Damanhur for 40 years before his passing 10 years ago. So, and he passed on also a lot of knowledge of dreaming, and she's a really amazing dreamer. So there was just so much knowledge that we had, that we sat upon, and that we were practicing, that we were like, we should really make this available also for other
Mm,
people. So
mm,
in ours, in how we view dreaming, is really, it's a sense that we have. We call it in Damanhur that we have inner senses just as we have outer senses. And
mm,
the sense of dreaming is one of these inner senses that allows us as human beings to move with our energy bodies through dimensions and through time, which we are doing naturally. It's a natural process when we fall asleep for the soul or for our energy bodies to really, you know, be free again, because it's
Yes.
also not very easy to be in a physical incarnation. And so it's really, this is also funny because scientists don't really know, that why we are sleeping is still a little bit of a question mark, because we don't really need, the body regenerates itself, so it could
Yes, it does.
regenerate.
Yeah, it's an interesting, concept.
Yeah,
Sleep.
but
Why are we doing it? Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. But we need to dream. We need to be able to move, because we are interdimensional beings. And so dreaming is nothing less than that. And you can do that from while you're awake, through meditations, through
Mm.
shamanic work, through hypnosis. In reality, if you look at a physical level, what is happening when we are traveling in between dimensions with our energetic bodies is that we see how our brain waves are changing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So normally in an awakened state, we are in beta brainwaves, which is very the logical mind, the very, rational thinking, but also the only brainwaves in which stress, anxiety, negativity is present. In the other brainwaves, we cannot
The
express
theta
those
and the
type of
alpha.
emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when we are moving through these brainwaves, we are also moving into different dimensions. So it's completely connected also to our perception.
Yes.
And so our dream work, it's a lot on, okay, so we know that we have this possibility as human beings to travel in between dimensions, but when we are dreaming, how do we know that we are doing that? How can we do that consciously? And especially, what is the difference? Like, are we traveling in between dimensions, but is there also a subconscious mind, and everything that
Yeah.
Freud and Jung and dream
Mm.
interpretation,
Mm.
there's a lot of this. And in our school, we have seen through our research that yes, that exists, our subconscious mind, everything that Freud spoke about and that also Jung then spoke about. Our body is very intelligent. So what it does is that through our dreams, it goes to try to recuperate energy that we have lost during our life or during our day. That means that uh, to our past, when we have had very like strong emotional situations,
Mm.
traumas, but also mini traumas. It doesn't need to be like a big trauma, but also
Mm.
emotional leakages, because of course
Yes.
emotion is energy. When we lose a lot of emotion, or when we express a lot of emotion, it's also oftentimes when it's not positive, we lose a lot of energy.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
our body, through our dreaming, when we are in our subconscious mind, creates this scenery for us to try to go and recuperate, get back that energy. Because we need energy to do what dreaming is really about, which is traveling in between dimensions.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
sad thing is that mostly people, like the majority of people who are not dreaming consciously or are not doing a conscious work on themselves of mastering their personal energies, are constantly in their subconscious mind, because they're constantly recuperating energy that they are losing from their everyday life, from past situations, things that have happened, and so on. And so what we're doing in the dream school is really, okay, first we need to work on that. We need to work on your energy structure, because otherwise it doesn't matter like how many practices or disciplines that we're doing within the dream, you will not have the fuel or the energy to do that.
Oh.
So this is really what we are working on, especially in the first year. And of course, also starting to have, the first experiences of lucid dreaming, the
Mm.
first, but it's very important to lay that groundwork, because otherwise it's people are doing a lot of discipline and they are not seeing results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes a practice, not an experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is an incredible idea that the art of lucid dreaming is like going into a charging station. It's offering us a sort of, we're able to sort of recharge in a way, as you say, from the leakages of emotional leakages that we've had over time, and that we probably repeat over time. We get into
Of
these
course.
loops that
Yeah.
happen.
Exactly.
So I guess the lucid dreaming then becomes a tool. Is that right? It becomes a tool that one can use to not just recharge, but to repathway.
So the idea with when in dreaming in general is a tool that we have naturally really to evolve
Mm.
spiritually, like on a human level.
Mm.
But so also your dreams will tell you if you have what you said, the repetitions of past traumas or past or behaviors that are being repeated. We say that habits as are, and these kind of repetitions are really where you leak energy every day. So if you react always in the same, we call them crystallizations. So if you react in the same way every time, both you crystallize a behavior, which of course we know also now by science, by neuro, like in neurologically, this is what
Mm.
happens. And this is
Mm.
why neuroplasticity is so interesting, because
Mm.
that is what helps us, create
Mm.
new situations and new habits. But you lose so much energy from that. So you need to do a work consciously on yourself, and your dream time is wonderful for that, because your dreams will tell you from the dreams that you have, from the nightmares that you're having, from the, everything is telling you where you need to work on yourself. So that is like the beginning of also seeing, we're working with something, trying to see, okay, what are the behaviors and repetitions that you're doing in your waking life, and what are the recurrent dreams that you're having, what are the dreams in which you are afraid, or where your nightmares or dreams that are repeated, and to really see, okay, this is where you really need to work. So it's actually very, very simple in doing that, but the important thing is then to start doing the work when you're awake.
Mm.
When you become lucid, which means that you are awake within the dream, which is not everyone that has, but when you become lucid, you can do that and heal that instantly within the dream time, which is very, very powerful, because you're also operating in a set of brainwaves that you're practically in a very deep, let's say, a self-hypnosis. If you think
Right.
about normal hypnosis, you're on alpha brainwaves. When you're dreaming, you're on theta brainwaves. You're
Yeah.
really in your subconscious mind. So you can really, within your lucid dream, you can plant seeds, you can heal traumas, you can heal your physical body. There's a lot of things that you can do within your lucid dreaming that is amazing, which is, I'm the teacher of lucid dreaming within the school. And so that is really like of course, I feel the superpower that we have as
Yeah.
human beings, that I have, but but if before you arrive to that point, or if people have difficulty becoming lucid, you can anyway start this work. You can really start this work anyways.
That's interesting, because I think there's probably a lot of people out there who think, oh, well, I can't do that. I tried and I can't do that. But there's a lot of ways to get there. And did we all, I mean, I know I did. I know I was lucid dreaming from when I was little. My dreams from when I was little, I remember so clearly now. So
Yeah.
clearly now. Really powerful dreams. And I remember coming out of my body and having to go back into the weight of my body again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
the, the 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 two bodies, the ethereal body and the meaty one. And but
Mm,
it's a fascinating area for great healing, I suspect. And also I I do believe probably great exploration of how one can expand.
of course. I
Yeah.
think that if you think about like how the Tibetans are using lucid dreaming, for example, they're using lucid dreaming to get enlightened within the dream
Mm.
state. And they are doing practices in which they're in their lucid dreams, they're trying what it is to be the consciousness of a rock, or the consciousness of a river, or the consciousness of a solar system.
Mm.
So also it's always about, when you're dreaming, you can really detach from your ego.
Mm.
It's a beautiful practice for spiritual people who really wants to evolve, that you can really understand that what you are and what you are not. I think also when you have your first lucid dreams and you really experience, as you said, also this sensation of being consciously out of your body,
Mm.
you like, all doors are open, because just the experience in itself allows you to understand that the life is so much more. And especially when you then start through your dreams traveling in between dimensions, meeting, and this seems so, esoteric and so
I
like
love
almost
it.
strange and magical. But the
Mm,
way that you can travel in between dimensions and actually meet different beings that you understand are not a reflection of your subconscious mind, not just a mirror of you.
mm,
When you're in your subconscious mind, everything is you. Everything is an extension of your subconscious mind trying to tell you a message and allow you to recuperate energy. But when you step out of the door of your subconscious mind and you become in contact with the subtle dimensions of this universe. So people who say that they dream or have had experiences with aliens or with deceased ones
mm,
or
mm,
with,
mm,
beings, you can have that through your dreaming because you are traveling through the dimensions and through time. So also the fact of seeing the future, traveling back in time, you can do that perfectly well within your dreams. But before you need to have the fuel to be able to do that, that is often, processed very much in your subconscious mind. So that is also something that we are learning how to understand when we are in our territory. We call it our territory, our subconscious mind, or when we
mm,
are traveling in other territories and what to
mm.
do when we are meeting other beings, how to interact, how to, there's a lot of things. No, it's a
Oh,
whole world.
it's so exciting. And so was Celastrina as a child, were you always lucid dreaming? Or has this been a very natural thing for you to always be doing?
Yes, I
Okay.
I was lucid dreaming. I had my first lucid dream when I was 3 years old,
Hmm.
and then that was just kind of a natural thing. For me in I've always dreamt a lot and I was always a natural lucid dreamer. And this is also something that is important to understand that as within our waking life, also within our dream time, we have a specific set of uh, let's say talents or things that come natural to us. So some people, they have a talent of lucid dreaming and they are natural lucid dreamers. That doesn't mean that you cannot train to become lucid dreamer. But as with, if you take a child who is really musically talented, they will put their finger on the piano and they will,
Yeah.
improvise something and
Mm.
be, while someone will sit there, with with a lot of discipline, but still just going twinkle, twinkle, little star, And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with lucid dreaming. So you within the school we have like a discipline that everyone can arrive to lucid dreaming. Some people just do it very naturally, so there's always someone, it's wow, and I did this and I did this, and other people are feeling like really shitty and
Yeah.
say this, but those other people perhaps have the talent of something else. They perhaps have the talent of seeing future events, or they perhaps have the talents of getting in contact with a specific set of beings, or of being a portal and helper for deceased ones. So, we do have different specializations, we call it, also within the dream
Ah.
field.
Mm.
That is very interesting when you start going analyzing all of your dreams, and you start to see the tendencies within your dreams. You start to see them
Mm.
from also how you can serve, not only as a human being, but also in the subtle planes. Mm.
Ah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, that you can, put the work in, the good work in there as well. Love that.
Yeah, 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 of
Love
course.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. It is, of course. And we as children, I think always we never questioned it, and it's something now we kind of re-familiarizing ourselves with. So there are techniques that you actually put people through, but you feel that this time, I think you said almost like a year in coming to understand and observe the where perhaps the energy is being depleted is an important period. Is that
yeah.
right? But for lucid dreaming? Yeah.
Yeah, for any kind of dreaming. So when we
Mm.
speak about when going out of our subconscious mind, sometimes we're not dreaming lucidly, but we are still traveling in between dimensions.
Hmm.
And you can really see that. So sometimes, like lucid dreaming is really when you're like, aha, I'm dreaming. You have really the choice of what to do. But sometimes we are having dreams in which we are guided, or we have like wisdom dreams, or we meet an entity that yes, we are following along, and we may not arrive to the sense of like, oh, I'm dreaming, but that doesn't mean that it's not equally important and that it's not equally full of wisdom. So
Right.
that's also very important to understand. You don't need to be completely conscious in the sense of like, because what happens when you become lucid is that your prefrontal cortex is turned on. So your brain doesn't know that you're dreaming. But
Okay.
you know,
You're
so
living it.
yes, you're
Yeah.
completely as if you're awake,
Hmm.
but you can still be in a dream state. And so you are not in that like of, oh, I'm Celastrina and I'm sleeping in my bed and now I'm traveling within my dreams, but you don't really focus on that. You're completely immersed in the dreamscape, and
Ah,
you wake up to have like a huge realization or a wisdom or an energy activation that you might have had from an encounter with another being. So it's not that you need to be lucid to have important dreams. That is also very important to clarify. I've
yeah.
had some of my most amazing dreams have not been lucid also. So it's so that's very important. But yes, when it comes to recuperating your energy, that is really essential. And we have we call it the first year, but normally it's not a full year clockwise, but
Mm.
it's normally, so for example, yesterday only we had a first year that started
Mm.
online, and then in September they will come here to complete the year or the first level for
Yes.
5 days here in Damanhur, because we need the structure of the temples. We need other kind of magical structures here to have certain kind of also energy activations that will seal all the knowledge and all the practices that have been done during this first year or first level. But yes, it's the long period is needed, because especially when we're working with a kind of technology that we call time technology, when we need to go back and recuperate energy from our past. It is something that is it's a big operation because we are practically changing our past, and
Is
that
it
work
this past or past, past, past?
no, this past in this lifetime.
Okay,
In this
this,
life.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, and to do that, we need at least 3 months
Right.
to work with that kind of technology. But then, of course, the time frame is also important for people to really see how their life are changing. Like we do have, for example, an intensive version of the first year, but then you need to, while people are coming here and they're here for like a long retreat, but then you need to have those, months afterwards in which you integrate everything.
Integrate. Mm.
And people
Mm.
normally they are like, they come out and they feel like illuminated, like, what? This is, because they have been here, but then sometimes it's more difficult for them when they go back to their normal context to actually incorporate the teachings and really continue working with it and really continue, so these are two different methods that some prefer
Yeah.
one and some prefer the other.
It sounds very much like the plant medicine pathway that can, it's all in the integration. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very hard to see God and then go back to your computer and do your day job.
Yes, exactly. When you have been like
Yeah.
an interdimensional
Yeah.
being and then all of a sudden
Yes.
you need to do your taxes. That's
Yeah.
not very funny.
It's not that easy. I get it. But
No,
it's such an exciting concept, and it's such an ancient concept as well. I mean, this is not new, and
no.
yet as a I don't even want to call it a therapy. I almost want to call it as an experiment in a way to 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 expand our lives. It's very interesting. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
when I think
amazing.
about the fact that you can actually live your life as many shamans or magicians do, that you never really fall asleep. Because one of the things that
Mm.
we are learning also in the dream school and the practices that we're doing as dreamers is to navigate the entrance and the exit of different dimensions. So when you fall asleep and when you wake up. So if you do that consciously, then you
Wow.
never really fall asleep. You just move in between dimensions. And that I think is one of the ways in which we can really step into and feel that we are multidimensional beings, And That's a
Is that
very,
what the great masters, the Yoganandas and the
yeah.
people like that, they were doing that really, weren't they?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
of course. And
yeah,
when you see, shamans, when they go into trance, they're just consciously moving in between dimensions
yeah.
and leaving behind the body for a certain amount of time. When you go into deep meditation, when Buddha was sitting 10 days under the tree, and also that kind of experience where he explains what happens, of course, he's moving in between dimensions. And
Mm,
which is fun because also in Tibet, they said that it's easier to get illuminated within the dream state, within another dimension than not here. So
mm,
there's
mm.
and I think that is the beauty of this kind of connection. In Damanhur, we say that as human beings, we are bridge species. That means a species that has the possibility to be aware of the fact that we are incarnated in this physical reality and we can enjoy and experience and live and have fun in this physical dimension, but still being a bridge to the spiritual dimensions and the understanding that this is not where we come from. We are in between dimensions, you
Right.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know because, yeah, the whole unlimited, I mean, one tends to sometimes take the road that we're trying to get out of our bodies all the time, but actually it's very necessary to be in the body,
Yeah.
and as you say, to have a playful, beautiful time in the body.
Yes.
I think that's probably one of my lessons to want to stay in the body
Mm.
is not my preference, and yet it should be, because it is a really, I do see that as a really wonderful place to be.
Yeah.
We have an incredible potential, each and every one of
Of
us.
course.
Yeah,
Like Osho said, be in the world, but not of the world. And I think that
that's
is the
right.
kind of
Yeah.
the understanding of like, yeah, okay, we're here now and it's beautiful, the richness, the food, there's so much things that we oftentimes take for granted, especially when we have
Yes.
like a foot pain. There's like,
Yeah.
damn it, or a heartache. But in
Yeah.
reality, it's fascinating the possibility to experience those kind of things
Yeah.
because then I feel that when you're dreaming, and I think that like dreaming and dying is very connected. So we are working also a
Mm.
lot with dying, and dreaming is a very good practice when it comes to learning how to die, which is also a reason to why, for example, the monks in Tibet, they're using it for enlightenment, but that goes hand in hand with the learning how to die. Because in
Mm.
reality, every night we have this kind of practice where we leave the body, and and as when we wake up here and we are like, oh God, thank God that was only like a bad dream. That is the same, feeling that we probably will have when we wake up from this life and we die. Oh, and everything doesn't really feel real anymore. But here it was like, oh my gosh, the depression or the pain and all these kind of
Mm.
things. So I think that a big learning is learning how to navigate and to love that while being
Mm.
here,
Mm.
and learning the lessons, and yeah, playing with it in a sense of gratefulness, and knowing that the time is very limited, that the flies, like having small children now. My daughter, my second daughter, she was born now in October, so she's 6 months. And I think that I have not never understood time so fast since I had children. There's like,
Mm.
yeah, I think I look the same. And then I look at pictures of myself 10 years ago. I'm like, no, something has actually changed. And it gets me really thinking about death every day, of being like, yeah, but
Mm.
that moment will arrive as well, where I have the possibility to go back. But then I will also want to have lived to the fullest, be
Yes.
feeling like God, thank God for this beautiful experience with everything that was, you know.
Thank God you found this place. It must be interesting for you. Your parents are still with you? They're
Yes,
back
yes,
in Sweden. It
yes.
must be kind of fascinating for them to see their beautiful daughter grow in the way that you have as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I
they're
think that
living their life.
yes, I came here when I was 21. So I think that also with this and my spiritual awakening, and I have been traveling a lot, I've been living in different countries in Europe. I think that they saw it more as like a period of exploration, as young
Hmm.
people do,
Mm.
trying to find their place. And then that I then would come back and establish myself and do these kind of things. But I think that when I really decided to stay, and especially when I decided to get married and so on, then they realized that okay, she will not probably come back. But they are very grateful. They are very, my mother loves it here. She comes to visit very often. And my father is also very, he's more happy about the fact that he sees that I am happy and
Yeah.
that he resonates with a lot. So there's a lot of respect in that in my family, which I'm very happy about, And
Yeah.
also there, the respect of diversity, It's
Yeah.
my father is not spiritual at all, and he was in the beginning of my spiritual awakening. He was very like, oh, and making fun of it. But when he
Mm.
realized that it was a choice of life, and when he realized that there was no conflict in reality between our philosophies,
Mm.
because this is something that I see with people who are not spiritual, but who are decent people and have strong philosophies about life, there's no real difference.
No.
But the difference are
Yeah.
made, in the same way as with religions, in the message is always the same. And so when you get united around that, then there's, no more, nothing more to talk about really, but just to enjoy each other's company again for the short moment of time that we have with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Amazing. Um, have you seen you've been there for quite a while, I guess, have you felt with the way the world is at the moment, are there more people beating a path to the door for particularly actually for the dreaming aspect? Has this become more and more people going, hang on a minute, let's go there, let me go there?
Yes and no.
Mm,
Yes, in the sense that I see that many people, especially what happened after COVID, they were like, okay, it's not a good idea to be alone in the city.
mm,
But no, in the sense that I see also that many people, what is happening to the world, there's a lot of people who go into fear mindset and into
mhm,
scarcity mindset because of it.
mm,
And so I think it's a little bit of a push and pull
right.
in that sense. I see like a lot of people creating their own initiatives, creating their also own communities, being very interested, but there's also like a fear of, losing security, losing finances,
Mm,
losing safe
mm,
ground. So there's a lot of, it's a big push and pull, I
yeah.
would say. And so we will see. We will see, I think, what happens in the future. And yeah, but it's a big mix
It
of the
is a big
reaction.
mix. There's a lot more exploring happening, I think.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
that shakes down for the individual, that will be what it will be. But and and I mean, part of this podcast is really to sort of say, look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this there's this huge smorgasbord out there
Exactly. Like
of
Sweden, the smorgasbord, that's the
yeah,
Swedish
yeah.
smorgasbord. Yes, exactly. We love that
And
in Sweden.
And I kind of love that for people because one thing that rocks one person's world won't rock the other person. It's fine. It's all
Exactly.
good. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But I do think it's really interesting, the lucid dreaming. It's become very much on my radar recently
Mhm.
as not just a cool thing to do,
Yeah.
you know, but as actually a practice.
Yeah.
And that is you being able to access it as a tool
Yeah.
for greater consciousness and greater and healing or whatever is kind of amazing. And what I wanted to ask is it important to go in with an intention or not particularly when you
For
go
the
in for your night of dreaming? Yeah, yeah,
when you go to dream, I think that when you go with an intention into anything that you do in life, you get more out of it. And the
right.
same goes for dreaming. So when you go with an intention before your night to try to guide your dream, sometimes the intention is only to remember your dream because,
Yes, to remember the dream.
yes, exactly. But also to ask a question before dreaming and then analyze the dreams to see the answer. Because we are in constant, connection with our subconscious mind. And when we put the lens on there, we get responses. And so I would use everything that we are normally not using, because it's a great discovery of who we are and, how we can live this life.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to sign up now and come and,
Yeah.
come and do it. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
just
you can
think,
do it. We
yeah,
started yesterday, so so you have
it's
time.
very
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, look, I'm going to pretty much wrap it up now, but I want to ask you, what message would you like to, and you've had 10 years living in a I don't want to say it in a way that's not alternative to the earth. It's actually in synchronicity with the earth. So it's a really interesting, we used to call it alternative living. It's actually synchronized living,
Yeah.
and practicing storytelling and dreaming.
Mm.
What message would you like people to think about?
Wow, that's a big question. That's a very good question. I think that the most important things that to remember is to try to live as full as possibly, and to really live as if every day is your last day.
Mm.
Because if every day is your last day, this is a practice that I do, that is a dream practice also, then all the situations in your life, relationship wise, with the dreams the missions and the dreams and the aspirations that you have, you go for it. Like you don't wait anymore. You don't push up on things and then regret. So really, if you live every day as if it was the last day, then I think that you can evolve in 3 months as much as someone else evolves in their entire lives. And that's a really, wonderful possibility that we have when we decide to live consciously.
Amazing. I think that
Mm.
should be each and every one of our goal. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, my dear. I've really enjoyed this. I do want to come and see you.
Yes.
I definitely do want to
Yes.
come.
But
Lovely to meet you.
you too. And until next time, and to the
Until next
dreaming.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
Take
so much.
care.